Welcome, everybody, to the latest edition of the NFL Draft Geek video series. I'm Brian Johannes, and today I'm going to talk to you and give you my thoughts on the NFL Supplemental Draft results. This has been probably the most exciting the NFL Supplemental Draft has been in the last several years. I mean, I know draft media has really kind of kicked off big time in the last few years. The supplemental draft hasn't had anyone selected since the 2015 draft that saw Isaiah Battle, an offensive tackle out of Clemson, go to the St. Louis Rams in the 5th round. We had Josh Gordon go a couple years before that in the 2nd round. At also in the 2nd round. But this seemed to be the biggest buzz around it in years, mainly because there was 5 guys in it. There was at least one guy that everyone was really high on, and 2 more guys that could have gone. So definitely a lot to it. Only 2 guys got picked. We saw Sam Beal go to the Giants in the 3rd round, and we saw Adamas Alexander go to the Redskins in the 6th round. That meant Bryant from Mississippi State went unclaimed, and the other 2 guys weren't expected to be picked. And I'm nothing against them personally, but I'm just not going to talk about them because I don't think either of them are probably going to make NFL teams. But let's just go ahead and kind of go in. And if you're not familiar with it, how the supplemental draft works is they group teams together. If you had a less than 7 wins, you got bunched up together, and then they had like an NBA-style lottery to determine that order. The Oakland Raiders ended up being the team with the number 1 pick, and the Giants ended up being the team with the number 2 pick. Then they grouped teams that had 7 wins or more that didn't make the playoffs. They were grouped in a kind of a pod together. Same thing, NBA draft lottery type formula that picked that order. And then the playoff teams were the same way. Teams put in claims. So if I wanted a person in the 1st round, I put in a 1st round claim, and it goes through. And if it gets to you and no one's claimed him, he's yours. That's what happened with the Giants in the 3rd round. They put a claim in on Sam Beal. It got to their pick. He's theirs. That also means that they forfeit that next round pick. So the Giants will be forfeiting their 2019 3rd round pick. The Washington Redskins will be forfeiting their 2019 6th round pick. And a lot of times you see players fall maybe a little a round or 2 lower than what they would normally go. Just because a lot of uncertainty with these prospects. So let's just go right into it. Sam Beal, as I said, was the first player taken in the 3rd round to the New York Giants. There was a lot of people that are very high on Sam Beal. I saw people think he'd be one of the top cornerbacks in next year's draft if he would have stayed and continued his development. There was talk that he could have been a 2nd round claim. I like Sam Beal. Don't get me wrong. He's got a lot of talent. He's got size at 6'1", 195 pounds. He plays the ball well in the air. I just didn't see that level of talent. There's people saying that he would have been a top 40 pick. I didn't see it. He's got a lot of flaws in his game, and I just, he could correct them, but I just think there's better guys available. He goes to the Giants, and I think it's going to be a good fit. They need cornerback help. They've got Eli Apple, who, isn't the biggest Lockett fan. His teammates don't like him, and he hasn't struggled to really produce. And they've got Janoris Jenkins, who's got the whole issue with the death at his house, and so there's a lot of questions about corner, and he really fits James Betchner's defense. He came over from Arizona. This is going to be his 1st year as the Giants defensive coordinator. And he, think of that Todd Bowles, the Arizona Cardinals defense that we've seen over the last several years, kind of basically a 4-2-5. And they like those tall press corners. And he's not Patrick Peterson, but he's going to kind of fill that role. They like to play press man coverage, and he fits that role. I mean, he's not a big, weight-wise physical corner, but he uses his length well. He matches up at the line of scrimmage, plays a lot of press, uses that length to his advantage, plays the ball well in the air. The big concern when I watched Sam Beal play is he left a lot of inside routes open. Guys were able to get slant routes on him pretty consistently. How is he going to do against those bigger receivers? He's also terrible against the run. He looks like he wants nothing to do with that run game, so that definitely is an issue for him. But I think he's going to a great fit. Value-wise, it's probably fine. I'm not saying that they reached on him. I just kind of thought he was going to go in the 4th round, but I think they got decent value with him. I don't, it's going to be hard to see if he comes in and competes right away for a starting job. Maybe by midway through the season, he's able to kind of fulfill that role. But if getting him in the 3rd round next year, probably decent value. Adamas Alexander now to the Washington Redskins, 6th round pick. Watching these two guys, they really seem mirror images of themselves. But Alexander's 6'2", 196 pounds, 197 pounds. Doesn't really matter at that point. Press man corner. When I watched him, he seemed to be more of an athlete, and his technique was kind of the issue. He just, he's just such a raw prospect. And that Virginia Tech secondary, they had him, Greg Stroman, and Brandon Faison, 3 really good corners. But Alexander really struggled to stay on the field. He got in trouble a lot. He was suspended for the first several games. There's been issues with marijuana in his past. So that's kind of the reason why he fell. And you're thinking maybe, Sam Beal is a more clean prospect, had probably more upside. Adonis Alexander wasn't far behind him, but when you raise all those red flags, that's the reason why he was a 6th round pick and maybe not a 4th round pick or 5th round pick, or even contending with Sam Beal for the top spot. But he's going to the Redskins. Cornerback's not a huge area need for them. They got Josh Norman. They just signed Orlando Scandrick to be their slot corner. They've got his teammate Greg Stroman that's there. So it's not a huge need. I mean, Fabian Moreau is a guy that they drafted a couple years ago who is looking to get back from that injury. He was talked about as possibly a high second, a late 1st round pick. So he's not expected to come in right away, but and just kind of add depth. And I think getting him in the 6th round, if he's able to stay healthy and stay out of trouble, that's going to be a great pick for them. All right, the last guy, Brandon Bryant, didn't get drafted out of Mississippi State. He was a free safety, strong safety type guy. Good athlete. He was timed at Mississippi State. He was running a 4.2, 4.40. That's insanely fast. At his pro day, he didn't run a 4.25 or 4.24. He ended up running a 4.43, which is still fast. Don't get me wrong. Average for safeties a lot of times is the high 4.5. So getting a 4.43 is still a fast time. We always think, if they're not 4.3, they're not fast. That's not true. But when I watched him, I thought he was kind of a guy that's going to be a key backup, special teams type player, and I think he's going to give that role for the New York Jets. Todd Bowles, their head coach, his defense, saying that James Betchner coaches that I mentioned earlier, they like to play a lot of safeties. They like versatile safeties. Bryant's going to be able to play free safety and strong safety. And the thing is he doesn't have to come in and be a starter. They've got Marcus May and Jamal Adams as their entrenched starters, 2 young guys that have shown a lot. He can come in and be that 3rd guy. Maybe they kind of move those guys around and he kind of comes in there. Bryant's a guy, he played a lot of back-end coverage, and he's really good at flying to the ball, whether it be in the air or coming up underneath. So I think he's a great fit for what the Jets want, and picking him up as basically a free agent. I think he's got a good shot to make the team because they got J.J. Wilcox there. But other than that, there's not too many guys that are really screaming, "Hey, we're going to make the roster." So hope you guys enjoyed this. Supplemental draft just ended earlier today, so I want to jump on here and give my thoughts. Make sure you subscribe and click on those notifications to get these. We're going to try to do a little bit more. Make sure you're hitting up NFLDraftGeek.com. We have new stories, new articles up on a daily basis. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed.